Good morning and welcome to our department update meeting for April 16th. We'll start off with roll call.
Rodriguez. Kingula.
Yes.
Oh, Rodriguez is remote. Bills.
Here.
Reynolds.
Here.
Haverfield.
Here.
Griffin.
Here.
All present.
Thank you, Shar. All right, we'll get into this department update, and we're starting off with the library.
Good morning, Council. How are you doing?
Good.
Good. So my name again is Jared Tolman, and I'm your Public Library Director. So the library's vision is to have something that appeals and we can provide to everyone in our community. You need to share your screen. Is it not sharing anymore?
No, it got turned off somehow.
Okay. There we go. Okay. So as I was saying,
The other one, the full screen one? Windows, and then, which one is, go down here to the slideshow and start the slideshow right there.
there we go.
Now Alt-Tab back to Teams.
Alt-Tab.
Yeah. Go ahead, Alt-Tab. Back to Teams, okay, and then click Share again. And then move window, that one, yeah, perfect.
Okay, there you go. Our library's mission statement is we are a cornerstone of the community, providing diverse gathering space, opportunity for learning, access to vital resources, and programs that enrich the lives of all. There we go. So some of our key values are kindness and compassion, respect and intelligence, freedom of information, or freedom, of information, inclusivity, accessibility, and innovation. So some of our library goals, so when we look at excellence, one of our goals was to provide excellent customer service through our staff, and you can see that year after year, oftentimes we're giving a 4.0. We're always shooting for that 5.0, but I feel in that area we're doing excellent. For the economy, one of our goals was to get people into the library utilizing it so that they're being enriched by their tax dollars. And so our goal was to have over 38,000 adults come in and participate in the different kind of programs. And what we're really looking for is often putting on business programming that will help enrich some of our small business owners, that they can come in, use some of the resources of the library, and actually gain some skills that will help them grow their business, which will help our local economy. We also don't look to bring people into the library to help grow that economy. We also look at our bookmobile, which goes out and provides an outreach service in the community. And so having a goal of over 20,000 people interacting with that outreach effort and exposing more and more people to the library so they can come and use those resources. We also have a goal of, as people interact with the library, that they're signing up for library cards. That's the best way that they can use and access our resources. So having a goal of having over 44,000 people come in and actually get library cards. And then obviously we could not do all of that we do on the simple city budget that we get. And so we are currently always going out for local and state and federal grants to help put on the different programs that we do. I will mention recently that the department that provides funding for libraries and museums was recently closed. And so that will impact the amount of money that comes into Idaho specifically, and even here in Nampa. For example, of that, in 23-24, we received a large federal grant through that department, which helped fund our bookmobile, which is a large part of our outreach resource. And so that's one area where we'll see some change in the coming fiscal year, the amount of money that we're able to access and bring into our community. So as I talk about impacting our community, one of the things we see is oftentimes during recessions, during economic hardships, that is when we see the most use of our libraries happening. And we've been seeing that over the last couple of years as people have been trying to figure out, how do I buy groceries? How do I entertain my family? How do I just balance the budget? They're looking for ways to cut resources and find other ways that are free to entertain their family and better their lives. And so oftentimes, or what we see is historically, the amount of people coming into the library is going up when things are tight. And it goes down when there's plenty, right? People can afford their own laptops, they can afford their own Wi-Fi or their own printing at home. They don't use the library as much, but we're seeing a huge increase. And so I've provided you here a picture of one of our library receipts. It shows that this patron came and used the library. They saved themselves $12. Over the year, starting in January, they've been able to save themselves over $1,000 utilizing the many different resources at the library. And overall, the lifetime of them having a library card, they've saved over $18,000. So it's a significant savings, and I think it's an excellent example of how taxpayer dollars can really be stretched over the community when we buy one thing that it's provided to many. And people who know that come and utilize the library in that regard to help save themselves money. And so as you're out speaking with your constituents, this is an excellent area in which you can address their concerns of the costs going up. How do I afford things? Remind them of the great resource that their library is. I think that will be a great resource that they're already paying for and that they can utilize to help stretch their dollars. So we provide many different resources beyond just books. Obviously, that's the one thing that I hear a lot as a director. People are often saying, oh, you guys just provide books. And as I talk to them about the many other resources that we provide, the answer that I often get is, oh, I had no idea that the library provided that. So beyond that, we obviously provide computers to the public for those who don't have computers or don't need it that often, free Wi-Fi. They can do printing there. We provide education and skill building resources, events and programs, jobs. I've seen a number of people come in who have lost their job, utilize the online resources that the library provides to help them find a new job and build their skills so that they're attractive to the jobs that they're applying for, as well as different spaces, whether it's a study room or the equipment that we provide to help them just be entertained and grow their education. So as we look at technology, that's one of the areas that the library provides. We provide a Cricut cutting machine, which you can design different things. It will cut it out for you. You can peel that out, post it on something, or you can do different designs. That's something that a lot of people like to use when they're making banners or just designing something. With our teens, we bring in a STEM technology thing to help them grow in the education of different technologies so that they can be useful, or not useful, but their skills will be enhanced as they go out looking for a career. Some of those things are coding, robotics, stop motion filming, which this is an example of that, where you can move the motion or whatever you're trying to film and snap the picture, and as you go through, it creates a film for you. We have Lego creation kits. We have a sound room, which can be used for podcasts. It can be used for oral histories, lots of different things. Maybe you want to record some music, you can go and perform that there, as well as a library of things. A library of things is basically, we provide different resources. Say you want to bake a cake, sometimes we'll bring in a unique baking cooking sheet that instead of having to go out and buy that yourself, you can use it that one time, right? You don't want to go out and spend all that money on something like that you're only going to use once, and the library provides different things like that that are ones-off. Like a circular saw is another good example. Sometimes you've seen that at libraries.
Council President or Mayor or whatever the official title is, question.
Yeah.
On the circuit machines, are those just provided for and they supply their own supplies, or do we provide supplies for them as well?
Yeah, so they provide their own supplies with that. We just provide the machine.
Thank you.
So our bookmobile, as you can see, impacts a lot of different groups that we go out. We've gone over 300 stops. We've seen over 7,000 checkouts, and we've engaged with over 1,200 patrons. A lot of times we're going out to schools to interact. We're going to retirement homes. We're going to small businesses. Lots of different areas in which we can interact and engage with people to, again, bring them back to the library. This is something that a lot of our communities, when there's events put on, they love seeing the library out there. One of their main focuses what they do is early literacy, trying to focus on helping create libraries in the homes of children. And so through state grants that we've received, we've been able to do a first book series where we interact with children. They're able to pick out a book and take that home and start building that library in their home. The whole goal of this is to obviously develop early literacy in the home with these children. We see that children who utilize early literacy and utilize that to their benefits, they do much better in school. As they go out and get a career, they're more productive in their skills, and they become a part of the community. So it really starts at the beginning with just providing them materials that they can actually read in the home. And so this is one of those great resources that as we go out in the community, again, we're trying to help provide the resources that will help our community grow. And I would say that the library is a community-based program, right? We're not necessarily a critical structure, but when it comes to the education developing of our community, we're critical. People often look at schools and their library when they're looking at, should I move to Nampa, right? What does Nampa have to provide? These kind of things are what young families are looking at and really appeal to them as they decide to make this home. And so for most of what we do, we're seeing the community come out in large numbers to participate, to have those things that appeal to them, that they can meet like-minded people, they can introduce their children to new ideas, things like that. And so we are very much driven by our community and love being a part of it. And that shows in the numbers that we see coming into the library. So those who came to the library, whether it's walking through the doors, going to our holds pickup, or just going out and interacting, we've seen over 250,000 people coming through. That's up from 11% from last year. So as I talked about, again, people, as the economy gets tighter, more and more people are coming into the library. We're seeing that in these numbers. We circulated over 850,000 items. That's not just books, that's other things besides books. That was up by 10%. People come into the library again to get answers to the questions they have. I have a new phone, how do I use it? Or can you help me find this resource? They're asking, and the best resource that we have in the library is our staff. So as they come in and ask these questions, we had over 50,000 people come in and ask questions like that. We put on over 1,000 library programs, and I think here's the one that really, again, points that people are looking at how do they save money. We saw an 83% increase in how many people were attending the library. We had nearly 50,000 people come in and attend our different programs that we put on, whether that's educational, whether it's cultural, whether it's just learning some new skill. We have some programs where people come in and they are doing yoga, things like that, just to keep their body up and strong. The two areas that we did see a decrease in that is going to be one of our focus is volunteer hours. That did decrease to 4,000. And we did reduce the collection size recently because of a change in how we were doing it. We did away with the Dewey Decimal System and found a category-based collection to help people find things a lot easier. We've seen an increase in those collections and the amount of things being checked out, but in order to do that, we had to reduce it for a bit. And so now we're back at that point where we're really bringing the collection up. And so we do expect here in the next year to get back up where it was. And then we saw over 4,000 people come in and use our different study rooms that we provide. As I mentioned before, we do really utilize our community, whether it's our friends of the library who raise money for the library, as well as the foundation for the library. They help raise money so we can put on the many important things in our community. We also go after state and local grants. So whether that grant comes into the city of Nampa or whether it goes to the library itself, we brought in, you can see, over $400,000 in the last few years for the library just to put on and do what we want to do. We could not do what we do without our friends, without our foundation, some of the grants. That's what really makes us shine, is being able to bring in these excess dollars that really just make a difference in our community and can provide excellent resources and programs for people to attend. Our library strategic plan, so the areas that we wanted to focus on was enhancing the user experience, evaluating library resources, or elevating library resources, strengthening the community through engagement, and broadening technology. These are the 4 key areas that we focus on to enrich our community. Our library is set up with a 5-person board of trustees. They serve for over 5 years. They look over our budget, make sure that we're spending it correctly. We as staff are always looking at how we can stretch our taxpayer dollars and reevaluating the resources that we're providing. Sometimes, just recently, we did end a service with a provider and start a new service that actually gave us some cost savings that we were able to allocate to different areas in this coming fiscal year 26 budget. And so we're always looking at ways in which we can improve our budget and really stretch those taxpayer dollars. Our org chart, you can see the 2 areas that we have the majority of staff. Overall, we have 44 staff, but the 2 areas which most of our staff are set up is under our public services. This is the staff that is putting on story times, it's putting on different kind of programming, all the things that happen in the library, it's done by this group. The other group that has a significant amount is our circulation. So as those books do come back into the library, there is a large process of getting them checked in, getting them back on the shelf, or putting holds on them for other people who want to pick up. And so that is a very detailed and lengthy process, and so we have a number of staff in there. The other staff are supportive staff, whether it's our outreach team, our administration team, our technology team, and our material services who are purchasing a lot of the resources that we're bringing in. So currently we had a position open, which we've just filled with another position that was already in the library, and so we do see that it will kind of cascade down through the organization till it's towards the bottom, and we'll hire for that really quickly. We don't have a lot of dead time with open positions. They get filled up pretty fast. So, and with that, any questions I would be happy to answer.
Councilman?
Did you want to?
No, you started.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. Just have a couple of questions. Your presentation did not include any financial information as far as revenues and expenditures. That is under the purview of our finance department. So have you prepared that yet? Has that been made available to Doug Racine?
Yes, Doug has seen that. We've met with him and looked at that.
Okay.
him.
I would have expected it to be in the packet is all. So I can reach out to him to get that information is, I guess, what you're suggesting.
So yeah, once the budget is allocated by city council, then our board of trustees is the one that kind of divvies it up on
So you're
where
not
and what's
requesting
in.
any increases in your
No.
budget?
No.
You're not requesting any employees as far as?
No.
Okay.
It's all staying the same from the
Okay,
previous
so-
fiscal year.
That's my main questions. I just, the last question is, do you know what your maintenance costs are? Or is that just something the Nampa Development Corporation takes care of for you as far as maintenance of the facility and grounds?
So I do believe that the maintenance of the facility is allocated through the city budget. That's part of the numbers that we get. We have seen a decrease a little bit in that with facilities taking over the cleaning of the building, but the upkeep of the building, those numbers have stayed flat. We do have some savings that obviously each year we've built up for an emergency, things
That's
like that.
fine. I can reach out to Brian Foster to get that information. So my last question is, how do you control the homeless in the facility, in the area outside the facility? What means and measures do you take?
So obviously, the main thing that I think that's really important is the library is for everyone. I've seen many examples where we've had homeless come in, and oftentimes they're there to use the facility. A lot of them are using, like I said, some of those job resources to help find a job so that they can get back on their feet, get into housing, things like that. And there's a lot of great resources there. With them, we expect them to follow the rules just like everyone else, and we enforce those rules, right? As long as you're following those rules and doing that, you're more than welcome to be there and utilize those resources. And so as long as most everyone who does come in and use the library is using it appropriately, the small percentage that might come in and do some nefarious, we get on them pretty quickly and ask them to leave.
I have a few questions as well. So your total budget, what is it? What is your total budget this year that you're requesting? Because that number wasn't in there. I had a similar question, just trying to put together the numbers of what your actual budget is that's being requested this year.
Off the top of my head, I don't have that number. I'd have to go back and look at that specifically.
Okay. On shifts, how many employees do we have per shift cycle?
I'm going to refer to one of my staff.
So probably between 10 and 12, depending on the time of day. So usually 3 circulation people, either working the front desk and the back, and 1 on each information desk, and then a variety of support staff in the back.
And what do those shifts look like? Are they 8-hour shifts? Are they?
Usually between maybe 5 hours for part-time and 8 hours for full-time.
Okay, thank you. What is the biggest, and I'll go through the line items when we get our budget book, what's the biggest expense that the library has, or expenses?
Staff would be the number one. It's always the most expensive.
Okay.
Just because of health insurance, all of those things for the full-time staff, and then it's the largest one.
And that's only for full-time staff, or part-time, even if they're doing however many hours it was in there, I can't find it now. Only our full-time staff are receiving benefits?
Yeah.
Okay. Alrighty. Thank you so much.
President. Really quick, you mentioned that we were going to be losing a federal grant. Do you know about how much that grant's was going to be that we're losing?
It differs each year, obviously, as we apply for those. Each year is different from what we get awarded. There will be some services that we won't probably be able to bring in. A lot of it's our outreach funding. Like I said, for example, the books that we give out to children or allow them to check and take home, that would be one of those areas. A lot of our underserved communities are the ones that are going to get hit hardest with that, just because we won't have as much. We will look to our friends and our foundation, other community groups to hopefully fill in that difference so that the impact to those underserved populations aren't as affected. And so I've already received some emails from our foundation members who are looking to small businesses and other groups, banks, that might be willing to help donate some funding so that we don't see as much of a dip in that. Yeah.
Evan, I apologize. My deal is blinking, so I don't know if you'll hear it. Comparatively to other cities, how do we operate in the sense of employees? Are we on the high end? Are we on the low end? I know with police, we can get those numbers and say, well, here's the difference of these departments. How does library fare?
So the Nampa Public Library is the third largest library in the state of Idaho. And, so the other two that are larger than us would be Boise and Meridian. And compared to them, we're a lot lower. They have a lot more staff, obviously, because they're larger. So for the size of our library and the community that we serve, I feel that we're in a pretty good place. Other libraries that are much smaller have obviously a much smaller impact of staff. But I would say that we are always looking at, with the small number of staff that we do have and the large amounts of individuals coming in and the large amount of materials being moved, we do quite a bit with a small number of staff. A lot of our things are automated so that we don't need more staff, and we're always looking at ways to automate some services so that we can use staff for the really important services of engaging with our community.
Just a final question. Does Boise and Meridian only have a single building, or do they have multiple branches?
So I believe both of them have multiple branches.
So comparatively, one building to one building, do we have any cities that we can relate it that way in the sense of budgeting? Idaho Falls, Pocatello?
All of those are smaller libraries than ours and have smaller staff also because they're a smaller building.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the council? Thank you for your presentation. All right, we're moving on to the Fort Idaho Center.
Yeah, always, right? Sorry, was there a connection thing up here? Oh, gotcha.
Put your presentation into presentation mode. There you go. And then go to Teams. Alt-tab to Teams and share your screen. Are you in the Teams meeting?
I'm about to be.
Oh, okay.
I thought I was here in person. Okay.
This is just for, okay, so mute your mic. And then,
Someone's got to let me in.
oh, okay, let me go do that.
Andrew Luther,
Add
Oakview Group. I'm gonna run it from my here. Did you have the presentation on drive?
sure. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm on.
Whatever you want to do. You guys are in charge.
We have the slide deck, so we could start with our questions now. So
Okay.
that way we can keep moving.
Okay.
So, Councilman?
I'll start. Andrew, thank you for coming today, and thank you for the conversation yesterday, except for the part on Bernie, but it is what it is. In the packet, there's an indication as far as items in fiscal year '25, the arena boilers, the water heater, and parking lot, $100,000. Was that funded?
Yes, it was approved in budget, but projects are still under works.
So you have the dollars in an account to pay for those things now?
The city has those dollars, yes.
Okay. And it's been appropriated as far as in last year's budget rolling over to be completed this year?
Correct. Yeah, that was just a snapshot for where we are currently as far as
Okay,
capital
and it
goes.
appears in your packet that the fiscal year '26 requests are listed out for $921,000, and those items are listed. There's an additional $100,000 in that budget. There was $100,000 in the fiscal year '25 budget that was appropriated. Is this meant to be an ongoing $100,000 per year?
For the parking lot?
Yeah.
Yes, so on a 5-year rotation, given the vast amount of asphalt and curb work on the property, dividing it up about $100K a year is
So
probably the
that-
healthiest rotation.
So the $100,000 from last year, what is that to accomplish? Is it just a zone within the major parking
Correct.
lot?
Correct.
And
So,
this will be another zone?
Yes, crack fill, top coat, and paint.
Okay, are you looking at the primary drive surfaces first and then the parking stalls second, or what are you looking at?
Really, the main lots are divided up into about 7 or 8 areas, and then what we call back of house, so behind the scenes, the service roadways, the access points. So primarily, the spots that are going to get attention first are where we need paint. So the south lot is really important right now.
Okay. And then I also asked about deferred maintenance items and a value for that, and you're going to put that together for us. Is that something you can email out? So
Yes.
that we have a priority list of what you basically see to need to be accomplished, and then the values associated with it?
Yes, I can do that.
Okay. That's my questions. Thanks.
Looks like you're ready to go.
Yeah, if you give me a verbal next slide, I can advance for you.
Okay. There, let me sync myself up here. Next slide, though. So this is just the kind of the agenda for this morning. Thank you for having me out here. We can go to the next one. So 5 questions. Mayor had us do this exercise a few months back and actually found it super valuable, provoked a lot of good thought. So just a quick synopsis on how that was. What is our mission? We want to be a positive disruption here at the Fort Idaho Center, the Nampa Civic Center. We don't want to succumb to the status quo. We want to be creative. We want to be passionate and believe in the power of live events. We really do believe that and think there is a ton of value that comes to the attendee when they come out to one of our facilities. So and secondly, treat the taxpayer money as if it were our own. So that's probably the most important thing we do. You know, it's all dollars that the city and the taxpayer funds. So we want to make good, sound decisions on behalf of those folks. Who's our customer? We're a little unique because we have a lot of customers. You know, us at OVG, we're the customer, or the city of Nampa is our customer. Your customer is the taxpayer. We have customers in the event client, and they have customers coming in who are the facility users. So we're trying to balance all these different, attitudes or needs and trying to make it all work. But if we know and have open communication with all those stakeholders, we're generally going to be okay. I feel pretty confident. We've had really strong communication and support from the city, from the tax base, from our event clients, and we work really hard every day to make sure we're fulfilling those needs. We can go next slide. So what is our customer value? Well, it's several different things. The city values the financial stewardship, the event client, the ability of the venue to understand their needs and also the needs of their customer and then be able to perform. and then the event attendee just wants a simple user-free experience. So balancing all those items has a slightly different goal and mission, but that's how we view things. The next slide. And what are our results? Financial success versus budget, that's number one. We've been in a good position the last 9 years going into our 10th budget cycle here. The Nampa Civic Center is down from about $750,000 loss to about 150 annually. That's a pretty big difference. And the Fort Idaho Center is down from $1 or $2 million deficit annually to be in a position of profit year over year. So that's very, very exciting and proof that this can be done here with these venues. Knowing the pulse of the customer, so we do a lot with our customers, post-event surveys. Our marketing team is very tied in from a national level as to what the customer base is looking for now. We're trying to be creative, be ahead of the curve to retain folks who want to come out to not just one event, but also come out to that second event. We think that the experience begins on our website and, ends when you exit the parking lot. So every piece is critical to the success of the event and retaining a customer. And then identifying revenue generation and cost savings. I could talk for hours on that, but simple stuff like fraud protections on our ticketing platform. We've had over $9 million of prevented fraud on our ticketing platform the last 2 years. So these are crazy numbers that are out there, and these are big industry things that we're working on quietly behind the scenes, but these things aren't going well. It's a huge hit to the venues, and that fraud stuff is just rampant now. It's probably one of the biggest things that the hospitality industry faces, especially with live events. So what's our plan? Making financially sound decisions around revenue generation, cost savings, and life safety. Those things are critically important. We want to make sure we are making the best decisions possible. Sorry, my slides are lagging a little bit here. And making good decisions so that we can create those positive experiences for everyone coming out. Another couple examples. Tickets to get into events used to be all paper. Now we're at pretty much 100% mobile tickets. It's all on your phone. It's a lot easier user experience. You're not mailing out tickets. You're not losing tickets. There's a learning curve that goes along with that. But in 2019, we're about 0 mobile tickets, and we sent out about 400,000 tickets this last year just via mobile devices and emails. So it's a pretty significant, just the paper and ink for that is a lot of money, but also the downstream effects of better user experience. It's bang around their phone. They don't have to meet up with someone physically to hand a ticket off. They can transfer it mobily. It's super simple. Then another thing I want to highlight is mobile merchandise. So everything sounds mobile, but it's really been the focus. So last year we added, Last year, we added mobile merchandise orders, which you just order things on your phone when you're at an event, and that added about $250,000 of revenue to the bottom line. So that was a huge pickup, and we hadn't done it before, and we're looking forward to getting into this concert season to get to version 2.0 of that and keep improving it, because those people who don't wait in line for merch aren't having a bad experience waiting in a long line. They can go to the restroom, go meet their friend at the gate, hit a concession stand. The dollars per head keep adding up more and more, the more we reduce lines. So reducing friction, it not only increases our revenues, but also increases the fan experience. We go to next slide. Next. Next, please. So at the Fort Idaho Center, right now we're pacing for the 4th best fiscal year. So looking at profitability again, we're sending all our numbers to finance, so they're well aware of what's going on. A few more months left, and we're coming into the meat of the season with the horse park back opened up and the amphitheater opening here in a little under a month. This year, FY25 was the first time with a 0 budgeted operating deficit, which was something we all were working towards since 2015 when Spectre, now OVG, got here, and we're there. So that's super exciting. Our summer concert series, that's 27 booked shows, and this is our first full year of the RV park expansion being able to be utilized. So we opened up about midsummer last year, so we missed the first half of the horse park season with a lot of high impact events. So excited to see that come to fruition. Then wanted to highlight the growth of our partnerships. So corporate partnerships are a big deal for this venue. Last year, we crossed over $1 million in sales for corporate partnerships and are looking at a lot of larger groups coming in to further support that program. So notably, we signed a big deal with CBH Homes last summer. They took over the naming rights for Entry 1. It's now the CBH Homes main entry. And, it's a pretty significant impact to the bottom line. And we're working on deals with Western Cat and have had come up with a couple creative options for the rodeo as well as we help them further their brands. And then there's something kind of fun. We've made over $55,000 worth of sponsorship or donations over the last year. It's something I'm proud of. We like to be a community partner, and I think that reflects it. Then the fund balance currently at $5.5 million as of last month. So that again was the goal, get that to $5 million. That was the kind of line in the sand to also get to a zero budget. And here we are with both sitting in a good spot. Next slide, please. So FY26 budget proposal, this is very bare bones, but it hits the highlights. Flat budget, zero operating deficit, and the Parks and Rec landscaping maintenance expenses covered by that fund balance, just like this year. So essentially, same budget, FY25 to FY26, with the hope still to continue building that fund balance, keep building it larger and larger. Probably skip the next couple slides. We did hit capital. FY25 is there for informational, and FY26 is the proposed.
President, can I have a question?
Go ahead, Victor.
Thank you. So, Andrew, I'm thinking about that budget with the Parks and Rec. Do you think it would be in better line for us to have OVG hire their own landscaper, or have them take care of the Fort Idaho Center rather than pay $307,000 every year to Parks and Rec?
I don't know good numbers for what private third-party landscaping would cost. I don't have a good answer for you, Councilman. Maybe Cody does. I don't want to put him on the spot or anything, but I just don't have that information at my fingertips. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm just thinking about maybe OVG hiring just a couple of guys to do that. I know that the equipment would be an issue, that I do know, but I'm just throwing it out to you to see where we can cut costs.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, if we hired people just on our staff, we don't have the equipment. If we went third party, I don't have a good idea on what costs would be for a private land maintenance company, but I'm not sure how that reflects to the City Parks and Rec, though.
Okay. Well, I'm not proposing that. I just wanted to throw it out to you because I think Cody and you should have that discussion. So anyway, thank you, President.
Rodriguez, this is Cody Swander with Nampa Parks and Recreation Department. I think the cost for the Idaho Center is just over $200,000 a year for their services that they receive from City of Nampa Parks and Rec for maintenance of the grounds. When we looked at this a year ago and dove in, I think Andrew is absolutely correct that the hinge point for making it affordable for them to do in-house is really the cost of the equipment that it would take, the mowers, the machinery that puts it at a much higher cost for them to internalize that cost. We went out and received some high-level, mile-high views from private companies to look at estimates. I didn't get anything in writing, but we were at some points almost double the cost what the City of Nampa could charge the Idaho Center. So somewhere in the $400,000 to $450,000 a year range was the numbers back then.
Okay, disregard. Thank you, Cody.
All right, next slide. So at the Nampa Civic Center, we're going to spend a little bit more time on the Nampa Civic Center. I've included a SWOT analysis too that I thought it'd be useful for us to walk through briefly. But key accomplishments in the current year: completed the Phase 1 LED upgrade. That was the only current capital project going on. And then Phase 2 is out in the RFP cycle now, which will fully complete the LED upgrades at the venue. Right now, we're pacing to beat budget, which is fantastic. And then we've seen a good growth of in-house events and promoted concerts. Those are two really important components for us. Produce 8 to 12 in-house events and are adding a couple more this year. And the growth of those is important. So some rebranding, refreshing, and casting a wider net to make sure those events are still drawing people as we think they can is super important. And then concerts, we've had a good couple of years. We're probably up closer to a dozen promoted concerts in the theater right now. It's been a slow build over time. It's a little more challenging at the Civic Center when we don't take risk on these types of events. We do at the Ford Idaho Center, but at the Civic Center, the margins are just tighter, so it's not something we do. So it kind of limits the pool. But finding creative deals to bring in these promoters has been really good and really beneficial, and we find the same promoters have been coming back the last couple of years. So they must be having a good experience in selling tickets. We did move janitorial duties in-house, so prior that was a third-party company. So that's a cost savings move so that we can also, provide more things for our staff to do. We like to keep them busy, and janitorial is a good way to do that. And the fund balance at the Civic Center is closing in on that $800,000 mark. Next slide, please. So FY26 budget, again, we're proposing a flat budget year over year. However, some key changes at the Nampa Civic Center. The event revenue is going to be budgeted to actual for the first time. So heading into this budget cycle, there is about $150,000 to $200,000 gap to make up due to indirect costs going up. So what has to go up is our revenue projections, more so to what we're actually seeing in reality, and then reducing some overhead expenses also. So one of those, like I just mentioned, bringing the janitorial in-house, eliminating that contract, reducing travel training budgets, and then reducing budgets for building supplies and repairs to actual spend rates. A lot of these cost increases are due to software programs, insurance, utilities, and labor. This is probably the big four you'll hear from everyone. Insurance and utility alone are up $60,000 over the last 2 years. So that's a big number at the Nampa Civic Center. Next slide, please. Looking at our FY26 capital proposal, you'll see the projects here. It's the usual suspects with the theater seats, sound system, window treatments, and carpet replacements. I'm certainly optimistic, and we'll get into this later, that the auditorium district will be able to help be a funding mechanism for some of these projects here. Next slide, please. So jumping into just a quick SWOT analysis, and this is focused on the Nampa Civic Center. But for our strengths, the city and OVG, we've been doing this together for a long time, and I think we're very much in cadence and rhythm as to what the needs of the facility are and how the general trends go. I think we just need to continue that open communication. It's one of the reasons why I think there has been success here, is just that everyone's been on the same page. Then secondly, the auditorium district, OVG, the city, the chamber, several other people were key factors in getting this across the line. And I'm excited to see how this all flushes out, but it could be very exciting 20 years from now, see what all happens. But in the short term, there's a lot of projects at both facilities on these lists that could benefit from auditorium district dollars. So I'm really looking forward to diving into that deeper. Next slide, please. Weaknesses. So infrastructure, you can pair that line just with the capital needs. So it's hard to provide that great customer experience when theater seats are failing, are not comfortable. People just don't simply want to return. Brand awareness and aesthetics, these two go hand in hand. The facility was open 89, 90, and it's pretty much original apart from some cosmetic upgrades we've done over the years. But I think we're certainly coming into a time where a full-fledged master plan is going to be needed for the Nampa Civic Center, and true pen to paper, put on dollars behind what this is going to look like. And I'll get into that more as we go on. But the infrastructure, it's an aging facility, physically and aesthetically. And the competition that's been coming up over the last few years has all the new bells and whistles, the fresh coat of paint, et cetera. Then brand awareness. With more venues coming on board locally, we have to find a way to cut our own path and become that household name. Might be in Nampa, but maybe not so much in the Treasure Valley, and that's one of our goals internally here is how do we stay on top of that list of event venues in the valley here?
Andrew?
Yes.
President. I know we haven't put pen to paper looking at the hard costs. I imagine this would be significant, so my question's two-part. I'm sure you've investigated it somewhat. What is the realm that this will cost us? And number two, would this be something that would be significant enough that we'd have to levy for? Is it something that we would just expect to come out of our funding sources or pull from Ford Idaho Center? Where are the creative ideas in making this happen? Because I think it's necessary as well, but it all comes down to costs.
Right. Nope, you're right. I mean, there's a lot of areas that we could look at it, and of course, a lot of it depends on the city budget. You know, if it's staying flat, obviously, we're not going to be increasing to be able to cover, you know, projects there. But the auditorium district one is going to be a huge, huge factor. You know, it's $1.5 million a year. Granted, that goes to another board to kind of be stewards of that money. It's not mine to control, and that board will come to city council to seek approval for those projects. But I think it's first establishing what needs to be done at the Civic Center. So we have the short list, you know, we need theater seats, we need a working sound system. Like without those, like we might as well not really even get to page 2. You know, those are the priorities. To expand the facility, upgrade it, you know, what is the goal of the city? Is the goal to expand the size of the property? I think there's easily an argument that could be made to remove the garden, push back a wall, and you create more space. I think there's an argument could be made you don't do that and use that funds to just facelift the facility. You know, to do it right, I would certainly think it's going to be a couple $1 million, so blended auditorium district capital funds, and hopefully there's some sort of other fund that I'm unaware of that's out there.
So just for clarification, how, in your mind, do we spin this as growth-causing adjustments? Brand awareness, is that something that has to change with the new population of people? And I'm saying this to receive those auditorium district funds. Obviously, blowing out a wall and an expansion is clearly to address growth and needing the space. Is wear and tear because of the new populations of people? How do we create the argument to have a significant portion of that come from the auditorium district, as we've established to be their sole purpose is for this specific project in the Idaho Center?
Yeah, you know, I think it's going to have to be a little creative, but I have to look at the financial impact of the facilities. You know, that auditorium district is funded by heads and beds. So diving deeper into the hotel reporting, so what effect the Nampa Civic Center has on the local hotels, that could be a pretty swaying argument for the auditorium district while trying to gain those funds. So that's one way. Next slide, please. So this is a quick, sorry, can you go, was that past or above? Did you do 2 or is this 1? Okay. Gotcha. Sure. Yeah. Let's go back to the seats. Let's start there. Seat picture. So we worked with an architect firm to kind of get a revamped look as to how the theater would work. It's about a net 0 on amount of seats that you would lose or gain. But there's a lot of other benefits that come from this, updating to current ADA code, fire lanes. You know, there's no center lane in the theater right now, just challenging from a customer perspective. If you're in that middle seat, got to go to the restroom, go answer your phone, what have you. So installing that middle lane would be very useful. But there's some imagery as inspiration. So next slide, please. There we go. Okay. So again, auditorium district, I think we spent enough time on that one. But the refresh and reintroduce. So, you know, one of my goals here is to create that long-term plan. You know, I'm going to need help from the city to understand what the true appetite is from council. The goal of the facility from your view would be very useful. Goal from my end is to make it financially stable and not be in a deficit. So that's where I'm coming from. And what does expansion look like versus, just, aesthetic upgrades? Next page, please. So threats, growth of competition, trailing behind industry needs and ever increasing costs. People run into this all the time, so I'm not new here, but I think growth of competition is a key highlight at the Nampa Civic Center. There's been 8 facilities open up in the last several years just in the Treasure Valley, most of them in Canyon County, that are direct competitors to the Civic Center. The Ford Idaho Center doesn't really have that problem locally. It's more of a national, regional game, but the Civic Center here, there's a lot of venues opening up that have the amenities, that the floor expectation of the customer, that's where it's at. And if we can't provide it, we may not have as good of a shot to win that business. We still have upside of what we're doing. We're a lot more turnkey than these other facilities. So we'll set the tables, we'll clean the building, we'll tear it down, we'll help you load in, we assign you someone to help you take the event from A to Z, start to finish. And a lot of these places don't. So it's a dichotomy of what's offered and what amenities are available, and we're always trying to position ourselves to be in that driver's seat. Then costs, it's always the big ones. It's infrastructure, the insurance, labor, utilities. Those are always just going up and up. Next page, please. So this is just a quick snapshot of what public assembly facilities there are out there in the realm of the size of the Civic Center. So, there's 2 within a mile of the Nampa Civic Center itself, and 8 open since 2018. So a lot coming online. So this is really sparking my thought as to we need to get into Civic Center 2.0, and that's going to be my task over the next little bit of time to figure out how we get there. And that is it from my end. I appreciate everyone's time and information, and please let me know if I can answer any questions.
I do too.
Okay, I just want to remind everybody, we have 2 departments to go. We have about 30 minutes left. If you do not have the director's information that you want to ask questions, please get that information and call them directly. And they were happy to spend time with you to answer those questions. We have time for a couple of quick ones, and then we'll jump into Family Justice Center.
Naming rights for the Civic Center, has been any interest expressed as far as in the building and venues within the building? Has there been any requests for naming rights?
It's something that I hope to do. It's something that we're always working on. There has not been a lot of interest yet. I certainly hope we can change that, though, in the future.
Just another revenue source?
Mm-hmm.
President, I have a question.
Councilman Rodriguez?
Yes, would you inform the council what the difficulties with the tax commission is giving us regarding the auditorium district?
Sure. Yeah, so the tax commission just notified the auditorium district board that they can't begin collections until April 2026. So that's obviously a big problem. So the board met this week, and they're examining ways to be able to stand themselves up to self-collect and do all that infrastructure work, get the tax collection programs, the organization, the accounting, and the legal behind it. So more to come on that, but certainly a curveball from the tax commission. That was unfortunate.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Just a comment. Well, first of all, how many seats are in that auditorium again?
640.
640? Okay. And I know that we talked about previously selling them to individual people, having name plaques, people like to see their names. Is that something we've explored yet?
We have started it. The priority really shifted to the auditorium district,
Okay.
though. Mm-hmm.
So probably just when we choose to kind of revamp this whole building, that might be something, that would be a good time for us to kind of bring that forward.
Mm-hmm.
And then also for the Ford Idaho Center, you said you were looking at corporate partnerships. Tractor Supply is coming to Nampa. We groundbreak next week. That would be a really great one to contact.
We're all about that. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your time. I
All right,
appreciate
thank
it.
you all.
All right, moving on to the Family Justice Center.
Good morning. Let me just mention first, thank you so much for your time. I know you guys listen to lots of stuff and you read lots of stuff for the service of our community, and I really appreciate that. I also want to mention, give a thank you to Jenny and Alyssa. They are with the Family Justice Center. Jenny's the program manager, Alyssa's the assistant program manager, and they do a ton of stuff behind the scenes that nobody sees, and we would not be a functioning Family Justice Center without them. And our staff. I wish that you guys could know our staff. We are amazing staff at the Family Justice Center that give sacrificially every day. So I just want to mention them because we are a team of people that do great work. I also want to mention one more thing. We don't have an administrative assistant, so we need lots of support, and we have amazing volunteers that help us get all this stuff together. In your packet, I have 3 items that I've put in there, so I just want to point those out to you. The first thing I want to show you is this is our impact report for FY 2024. It's very detailed, things I'm not going to be able to share today that you will see in this report. Jeannie Gerwig, our grant writer, created this, and she did a phenomenal job. And I just want you to see all the details that we won't be able to talk about today when you have time to go over that. The other thing I gave you was an impact of the Family Justice Center services on victims' outcome. So on the left-hand side, you'll see the incident of abuse. You'll see when people engage with the Family Justice Center, the outcome looks very different when they don't. And you'll see that on this graph as well. And the last thing I gave you there is our organizational chart. I want you to notice that there's 30 staff at the Family Justice Center, and the city supports 3. So you will see it's all color-coded to show you where the funding is coming from. So it is very clear, and it looks a little complicated, so I wanted to give that to you so you can take time when you have a minute to look over that. And we'll talk more about that in just a few minutes. Sorry, I wasn't expecting to have my computer up here. So I'm just going to go ahead and go into the presentation now, and just to mention, we are going to what Mayor suggested as far as the questions is what we're going to go over, the 5 questions. So I know we have a short amount of time, so I'm going to try to run through this pretty quick. So what's our mission? Who are our customers? What do our customers value? And what are the results? And is our plan effective? So our mission is to promote the safety, self-sufficiency, hope, and healing for those that are affected by abuse. Those words are very important to us: safety, self-sufficiency, hope, and healing. We'll talk more about that in a minute. But one of the sub-questions under what is our mission is challenges and opportunities, but I'm going to talk about challenges. So challenges in what we're facing and what we're dealing with actually are very many, but these are the ones that we wanted to highlight. So increased client growth while funding opportunities decrease. So if you notice there the numbers, we served last year about 875 client visits a month. And then at the bottom, you'll see the increase in client visits since 2020 is 46.4% increase. 2024, we had a 2.4% increase from the previous year. And I just want to mention, you know that we're working with abuse victims. We haven't gotten to the who we serve yet, but we work with abuse victims. When people see our numbers, they think it's maybe bad, but I want you to know that we look at this as good. In every community in the state of Idaho and all across the country, everybody's dealing with abuse victims. And they're out there all over the place, and there's so many there's a lot of statistics that I can tell you about that I don't have time for, but I want you to know the Family Justice Center, we here in Nampa are dealing with these issues. We're making an impact on the lives of the people that we're serving, and we are making this community a safe and healthier community where people can prosper. And so because of the work that we're doing, so when I look at these numbers, I'm so grateful that people are coming to get the help and lives are changing. Our funding challenges, as you probably are very familiar with what's happening on the federal level, we are impacted by that. But to be assured that we're not asking you for more money. So I just want you to know that. What I want you to notice here, though, is that we've had decreased opportunities for federal funds. We have had no open solicitations for our federal grants. Actually, when it first came out in January, they pulled them back. We started to apply, and they pulled them back. So one of our grants, I'll drop to the bottom of their elder abuse grant. That one we currently have, but it ends in fall of 2025. Usually by now, we have applied for 2 to 3 more grants for the coming years, and we have not had opportunity to do that. So we will be ending one of our positions because this grant has not been opened. I'm still looking forward that this grant will open at some point, but it's not at this point. So we know that one of our positions will be ending. And again, we're not asking for funding from the city. We're just letting you know what's going on. The decreased VOCA funding, I wanted to tell you about that, the Victims of Crime Act. Just be informed that this is across the country, the federal funds that are continually being decreased. This is the funding that supports the work for all the advocates that we have at the Family Justice Center, and without the advocates, there's no work going to be done. So we are diligently looking for diversity of funds, and we have a generous community that has been supporting and helping us, and hard work in trying to find grants and foundation and local funds. But if you notice here, you see on the right-hand side, we rely on grants, federal grants, pretty significantly. 3% of our funding is coming from grants, 22% from the city. Thank you very much. It's such a great help. And then 15% from the foundation that we have. And we're going to talk more about the funding in a few minutes. The other sub-question to what is our mission is opportunities. As I mentioned, we are investing in lives and we are changing lives. The tagline that I use a lot is saving and changing lives. We have people that have said over and over, many people have said, if it wasn't for what you guys are doing, I wouldn't be here, I wouldn't be alive today. And so we know that we are making a phenomenal difference, and we hear story after story, and I wish I had time to share a lot of those stories with you. But I do, again, just want to mention that's one of the opportunities is we are making a difference in our community for now and for the future. The other opportunity we have, which I think is so phenomenal, is we have a volunteer program, 145 active volunteers. We have an app that tells us how much that's worth, at over $450,000 in volunteer services that we had. And we are always increasing and looking to do that more, because the volunteers have made, I don't know what we would do without our volunteers, and it allows us to do the work that we need to do without asking for more funds. Who is our primary customers? Our primary customers are victims or survivors of domestic violence, sexual assault, child abuse, elder abuse, stalking, and human trafficking. This is something that is high statistics in this area. Again, we see this at the Family Justice Center. As I told you, the numbers are pretty high, but good work is being done. Who are supporting customers? We, as you know, we've talked a lot about this, but in the Family Justice Center, we have multiple agencies. Under one roof, we have 10 partners that are working to support the victims when they're coming in. Instead of them having to go from place to place to place and tell their story over and over and over again, they can come to one location and they can tell their story a minimal amount of times and get support in one location. And it is phenomenal. In fact, I'll briefly mention, I was an intern when I started at the Family Justice Center, and I'm still here today, 15 years later, because of the great work that's being done. I wanted to highlight the Nampa Police Department. They are one of our partners in the building of the Family Justice Center. Because the city supports them, I want you to know the supports that we provide for them. We know the the police department in Nampa, I believe, is the best police department throughout the state of Idaho. They do a phenomenal job, and we work really closely with them. I want you to know that part of what we do is support financially, so the city doesn't have to do that. These are things that I've told you about before, but haven't highlighted the funding part. So the Family Justice Center, again, working very closely with the Crimes Against Persons unit in the Family Justice Center. They are, 40% of the Family Justice Center clients are referred by law enforcement. And let me just make that clear. I put NPD, but it's actually law enforcement in all on the surrounding areas. Of the 40% that's being referred by law enforcement, 61% of those are coming from Nampa Police Department referring to us. And why I'm saying 40% is a big number, because the next closest number is 15% that is being referred by family, friends, and coworkers. So 40% law enforcement is a pretty high number that we're getting constantly from law enforcement. 61% of those 40 is from Nampa Police Department. Again, highlighting the supports that the Family Justice Center is offering to the police department in Nampa and to the city of Nampa. So we provide these sexual assault nurse examiners with our grant funds. We pursue the funds. The police do not give us anything. The city does not give us anything for this, these exams that are being done. The reason why this is so important is because it's a 4-hour exam. Each exam is a 4-hour exam by a nurse, a very specialized nurse, and an advocate also shows up to these. We, as the Family Justice Center, we pursue the funds for those for that grant, and we provide the funds to the nurses and to the advocates, where law enforcement is involved in these cases, and they need, not only does the nurse provide the medical exam for the patient care, they also provide all the evidence for the offender accountability. And so law enforcement relies on us to be able to, the nurses to give that to them. And so they don't have to go to Boise to get this taken care of. They can come here, and they don't have to pay anything. And the city doesn't have to pay extra, because we are pursuing grants, and we get grants for that. Our advocates that go out 24/7, it used to be the victim witness coordinators with the Nampa Police that would go out on call, and they were on call 24/7. But no longer do they have to be on call, so we are saving the city money, because we are getting that from grants, and we are pursuing the grants to ensure that law enforcement doesn't have to pay that, their advocates don't have to go out. We go out, and we take care of that to save the city money and to do the important work that needs to be done. The same with the Child Advocacy Center. And I know I throw a lot of this stuff at you, and this is really like a lot of information, but you would be so proud to see the work and know the work that's being done if you understood the integral details of what's really happening. And that's what my hope is, to give you a little bit more than what I've given you before. To be a nationally accredited advocacy center is a significant thing. There's only around 7 in our state of Idaho, and it takes a ton of work to be an accredited advocacy center. We also provide funding. We get grant funding for the forensic interviewers, the child advocate, to provide child safety and offender accountability. Again, law enforcement is working with us on this, and if we weren't here and we didn't provide this from our grants, they would be going to Boise every single time that they needed to deal with a child interview. So the phenomenal work that's happening out of the center and the support that we're providing for our law enforcement, where the city doesn't have to give more money, is there, that probably hasn't been highlighted in the past, and I wanted just to make sure that I mentioned that to you. Additionally, the things that we're providing is our community partner training. We just did a 2 full-day law enforcement training on elder abuse. It was a national person we brought in to train them on this work, and we're getting all this money from our grants. This is not coming from the city, this is coming from grant funding. So we are, and if you look on page 9 of your impact report, you will see a list of all the national trainings, all the community trainings, all the things that we're doing to make sure that we are doing phenomenal work in all of our agencies and our law enforcement. The contribution that we're giving into our community is large. And I'm just running through this, but sorry, that's my notification. Sorry.
Quick question.
Yes, sir.
Does the Family Justice Center provide services to all of Canyon County?
We do. We absolutely do, yes.
So do you get referrals from Caldwell, Homedale?
We do.
Okay.
So about approximately 70% of our clientele is coming directly from Nampa. About 19% comes from Canyon County.
Do you receive any financial support?
We do not. None.
That's unfortunate.
It is very unfortunate, and we have gone over and over to the commissioners, and we're not done, but we'll keep going over and we keep asking, and we will continue to pursue that.
Just added to that, when you do go make those asks, please invite counsel. I know for at least me, I will attend that and testify on your behalf, because that is not right. That the state, that these federal grants and NAMPA is supporting this program when there's still 30% of the area coming elsewhere.
Absolutely.
So I'd be happy to do it. I'm sure other council members would as well. When you go speak to the cities or the county, please let us know.
I appreciate that. I will absolutely do that. So our customers value safety, self-sufficiency, and hope and healing. And I won't go over that because of the specifics of the time that we have.
President, I have a question.
Yes, Councilman.
Okay, so the questions I have is this. Number one, you work off of grants, and now do you go through human resources for your employees? Also, since you're on the grants, is the city paying for medical benefits and retirement, all that?
The city,
is that within the grants?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you very well. So as far as the city is paying for 3 positions, and they pay for all the benefits for 3 positions, everything else, all of the staff is everything's coming from the grants. There's nothing else the city is paying for as far as staff goes. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
My PowerPoint is not working. Okay, there we go, thank you. So if you will refer to your information packet, your impact, you will see the specifics on the safety, self-sufficiency, hope and healing, all the things that we provide there. And then I want to talk about the results. I want to talk about last year, we brought in $500,000 for a grant. We brought in 10,000 awards from different locations. We maintain our funding sources, and we've increased those areas of funding that we've had from our local ISP in 2024. We have an amazing relationship with our grant managers. We are in the top 5 of the reporting, the applications. We have had a conversation with them, and we are in a really good standing with them. I want to mention our new counseling center because we have 15 counseling rooms and we were overlapping. We did not have enough rooms, so we had to figure out a plan. We had our Heritage Homes did an amazing job. They're a builder. The Andersons have helped us tremendously. The Rollins, we were able to, by the foundation, they rented space for us, and then they came in, these people, these volunteers, these agencies, these companies in the community came in, renovated that space, and made beautiful space for us in order to not be overlapping in the services that we were providing, because we just didn't have enough space. So that was not any city money, that was all donations, that was the foundation that was supporting this work. Our goals, you will see that we have a percentage of goals that we have wanted to make sure that we attain, and we surpassed that 27 increase in last year of bringing awareness to the community. We were able to 87% of our clients return, and then 8% of increase from funding from the year before. So we did meet our goals and exceed our goals. And I wanted Jenny to come up really briefly to talk about more about the budget.
So as Jeannie showed you earlier, the graph she had on her slide was from fiscal year 2024, and that's reflected in your impact report. This is our 2026 proposal, and so you'll see that, again, the bulk of our funding is coming from grants. There is about 19% that's coming from the city, and that city support of approximately $438,700, we have approximately $2,400 going into our admin budget, and that helps offset some of those admin costs. But if you look at the smaller pie chart to the right side of the screen, you'll see that that biggest majority, over 3/4, goes to fund our 3 positions, and those are the only ones supported by our admin funds. And then the next largest chunk is approximately 19% for IT costs, and then the remaining 3%, which is a total of just $13,240, covers our office expenses, mileage, background checks, and then just one travel and training event for Jeannie to attend one of the Family Justice Center national conferences or leadership summits. And so this year we did have an increase of $1,000 in our operations budget, and that is only because the National Family Justice Center Alliance bills their dues for affiliation every other year, and so half of that was applied to admin, and then the other half was applied to our client services account. And we have approximately $168,500 from the foundation and donations reflected on this graph. However, in addition to that amount, they also support us with about $350,000 for other positions and client services that our grants don't cover, and then specific programs of the foundation. So in fiscal year 2026, we project our grant funding to be right around $1.7 million. However, there is some uncertainty with that just due to the nature of federal grants at this time.
Question. So can you tell me how much that you are giving the clients from out of Nampa, how much we're spending on them, on other victims, from Caldwell, from Parma, from wherever else?
We have drawn up a spreadsheet in the past for the commissioners to really show the cost per client, and I have that on my computer, so I can send that later, but I don't remember off the top of my head what our kind of cost per client is, which would then transfer over. I believe we asked the commissioners maybe 2 years ago for around $80,000. $75,000 to cover that amount of people that would be in Canyon County but not in the city of Nampa.
Okay, so you say Canyon County. Have you reached out to Caldwell and Middleton and everywhere else in Canyon County?
We have reached out to Caldwell, and so we haven't reached out to Middleton and all the other surrounding. We've reached out to the commissioners multiple times, and my last letter, they didn't even invite us in the last time when there was new commissioners there. They wouldn't invite us in to even come and do a presentation. We sent them all the specifics of everything. But yes, no, we don't have any other support outside of the city of Nampa.
Okay, well, I'm sorry for that. That doesn't fit well with me, but keep trying, and like I say, like Councilman Griffin said, I'll help you as well.
Thank you so much.
Whether they give you time in the presentation hearing or not, I encourage and recommend you find out and let us know when those public hearings are for testimony. We should be speaking at those cities, Caldwell, Middleton, all the cities.
Okay.
And whether it's a breadcrumb or not, it helps the bottom line, and I think that's what's important.
I appreciate that, and we need every breadcrumb we can get, for sure. Do you have any other questions about our funding, our budget, or anything of that nature?
Jeannie, I think it'd be good if they can reach out to you through email or text or something. It'd be great, so we can move on, so we don't miss out on
Absolutely.
our last presentation.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you for your time.
Great presentation, thank you. All right, Peter, we're ready for the page 2C.
Can I share the Teams meeting? I think so. You have PowerPoint running? Yes. In presentation mode? Okay, right there. All right, so we'll go to Teams, window, and there. Okay. Thank you. Give it just a second. Yeah. It's not doing it yet. Okay. Wait a minute.
Peter, we have the slides. If you just want to talk about it, it's fine.
Mr. Chairman, I would invite the council to look at slide 3 and 4 specifically. It's very short. I told the mayor last night we'll make it 5 minutes or less. Mayor asked Doug Racine and I to basically carry forward the 25 budget to the 26 school year with the notable exception. Thank you, Paul. Let's see if it goes here. Of our labor costs, which I can't see right now. But basically, speaking from the slides, we've reduced our labor costs. Obviously, we've lost our IH2C manager, Jose De Leon, through an unfortunate turn of events. So currently, we are contracting with Personnel Plus to provide coverage at the center for both after hours on weekdays and then also on our weekends, which is primarily Saturdays. Yeah, and I think it's slide 4.
Do you want this?
So, Mr. Chairman, if you look at that particular slide, you'll see again that our operations, 169,000 and change, we're carrying forward into 2026. Capital of 117,000 would be carried forward. And then, as I just mentioned, our personnel costs of 99,000 in 2025 would be reduced to 35,000 for 2026. That's based on through Personnel Plus, again, as I mentioned, a $25 hourly rate plus the $5 an hour that Personnel Plus charges us, and that would give us 23 hours of coverage weekly, which we do not predict will actually hit that amount of coverage for weeknights and weekends, but does give us a little bit of cushion on that for coverage and supervision within the center itself. If you go back to slide 3, it does, there we go. We can see the 4 focus areas. We've shared this with council before. This comes out of our strategic planning that we did, that we've also formulated to kind of help give us some focus with our educational growth, entrepreneurship, workforce development, community health, well-being, cultural engagement, arts, and heritage. And again, those are the 4 areas that help support the original mission and charter of the IH2C Center. And then the final statistic I would give you is our budget for 2025 totaled $385,544. At this point, carrying everything forward with the exception of personnel costs, 26 budget would be $321,516. So approximately about $64,000 less budget for 26 than we were in 25. And I'd stand for questions, Mr. Chairman, in the interest of time.
Questions from the council? Looks like we don't have any, so good job.
Okay.
Appreciate your presentation.
Yeah, if I may, one last item. We are also working on the fountain out front of the building. Mayor's idea is to get that up and running sometime this spring. We'll have a ceremony to honor Jose and call it the Jose De Leon Memorial Fountain. And so we'll invite council to that as well. So thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
All right, I would stand for a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye.